Nestled deep in the northwestern corner of Georgia, the rugged terrain of Devil's Den State Park is a place that feels like it exists outside of time. Towering limestone cliffs rise abruptly from dense woods, where oaks and hickories weave a canopy thick enough to drown out the midday sun. Narrow, twisting trails wind between rocky outcroppings and caves, worn over millennia by streams long since vanished. The air carries a faint, earthy musk. Damp moss, fallen leaves, and the stale breath of hidden crevices. The park's name isn't just a poetic flourish. Local law warns visitors to be wary, speaking in hushed tones about a darkness that clings to the dense forest and echoes in the howling winds that funnel through the cliffs. There are stories of people wandering into the woods, only to never return. Some say the land itself is restless, a place that swallows those who don't respect its ancient silence. In the summer of 1983, a young man named Mark Foster would come to know this silence in a way that would change the park's history forever. Mark was 24, an aspiring writer with a quiet disposition and a hunger for solitude. He lived in Atlanta and spent much of his free time escaping the city, chasing inspiration amid the wild places where few dared tread alone. Devil's Den had been on his list for years, a rugged, almost forgotten park with fewer visitors than many others in the region. On July 19th, Mark packed his gear, a small tent, a journal, a camera, and just enough supplies for 3 days, and set out. He told his sister Susan he'd check in after 3 days, eager for the break, but not wanting to worry anyone. When Mark didn't return, and the calls went unanswered, Susan reported him missing. The park rangers mounted a search immediately. Though the terrain was difficult, trails were narrow and unmarked, thick underbrush tangled around steep cliffs, and the air was thick with the summer heat and humidity. On the third day, a volunteer named Tom Parker found Mark's campsite abandoned, but seemingly undisturbed, near a small creek locals called Widow's Creek, a name that sent a shiver through even the hardiest searchers. The tent was intact, the campfire cold, but carefully arranged. Mark's backpack sat just outside the tent, all his supplies untouched. Inside they found his journal, open to the last entry. The neat, careful handwriting filled the page, but the words were chilling. July 20th, evening. The forest feels different here. The trees seem to lean in closer, as if listening. I hear whispers carried by the wind, but no one is around. Last night, I thought I saw a figure standing near the cliffs, motionless, watching me. When I blinked, it vanished. The wind carries strange sounds. I don't think I'm alone. Some dismissed the entry as Mark's imagination, perhaps a trick of solitude or stress. But others, especially the locals, felt a chill reading those words. Devil's Den had long been associated with stories of lost hikers and unexplained disappearances, but few dared speak of the place aloud. Decades before Mark's disappearance, Cherokee legends told of spirits called Nunahi, guardians of the forest who could both protect and mislead travelers. While the park's rangers scoffed at such tales, many admitted to feeling an oppressive unease in certain areas of the park, especially near the caves and cliffs where visibility was limited and sounds echoed strangely. One retired ranger whispered to Detective Laura Mills years later, "Sometimes, when you're out there, it feels like the forest itself is watching you, like it's waiting." The park's complex cave system was a prime focus of the search. The caves had narrow passages and hidden chambers with steep drops and sudden turns that could disorient even experienced spelunkers. Rescue teams searched tirelessly, but found nothing. A local spelunker mentioned a hidden cave system known as Echo Hollow, notoriously dangerous and avoided by most. Attempts to explore it were halted after no sign of Mark was found, and the explorers themselves reported hearing faint voices and unsettling noises. What made the case more perplexing were several eyewitness accounts and strange clues uncovered during the investigation. A hunter named Jim Riley claimed to have seen a man fitting Mark's description near Widow's Creek days after the official search began. Jim said the man looked lost, disoriented, and frightened. Yet when Jim tried to approach, the man vanished into the trees, as if swallowed by the forest itself. Meanwhile, a hiker recounted feeling watched and hearing whispers, but when she turned, no one was there. Other visitors reported sudden drops in temperature and a suffocating silence that fell over the woods without warning. In the months after Mark's disappearance, a park ranger named Dave Morgan mentioned on a local news broadcast that a trail camera had captured footage near the cliffs of a blurry figure moving oddly in the dusk light, pausing as if listening, then suddenly disappearing. Though the footage was never officially released, it circulated on local bulletin boards and later on the internet, feeding the mystery. Detective Laura Mills, assigned to the case, came to see Mark not just as a missing person, but as someone caught between the tangible and the intangible, a man whose fate was entwined with the unsettling atmosphere of the place. Her interviews with family, friends, and park staff revealed Mark's internal struggles. Before his trip, Mark had confided in Susan about bouts of anxiety and an overwhelming feeling that something was following him, even in the city. His last phone call hinted at growing paranoia. Laura wondered whether Mark's disappearance was a tragic accident, a fall, or succumbing to the wilderness, or something more psychological, a man undone by fear and isolation in a place that seemed to prey on the mind. Despite extensive searches, Mark Foster was never found. His case remains open, an enduring enigma wrapped in the dark folds of Devil's Den. Visitors still report strange sensations, whispers that don't belong to any living creature, shadows flitting at the edge of sight, an oppressive silence that presses in and sets nerves on edge. The true horror of Devil's Den lies not in monsters or ghosts, but in its profound and unrelenting mystery, a place where nature, history, and human vulnerability converge to create a story that refuses to be explained. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't what you see, but what you never see. The question is, if you find yourself alone in those woods, listening to whispers on the wind, will you walk out? Or will you become part of the forest silence forever?